Welcome back, everybody, to another episode of the Sick Podcast Recruits Draftcast. At the time of the recording, we are 23 days away from the draft. Boys, we can already smell that Vegas air. It's exciting. And so we thought, why not do another mock draft, right? There's no more hockey left to play. Okay, it's done. The Memorial Cup has been won. Congratulations, Saginaw, by the way. And the rankings have changed. And the draft order has changed as well. So why not do another one? We're going to do the first 30 picks. And then after that, we're going to give our picks for the Stanley Cup final, which will affect 31 and 32. Anyways, we're going to get into all of that. So let's get to it.
Turn up your volume. Because you're about to listen to the Sick Podcast. Recruits Draftcast.
With our first pick in the 2022 NHL Draft, les Canadiens de Montréal sont fiers de repêcher from the Slovakian national team and TPS Turku, Juraj Slafkovsky.
The sickest NHL draft and scouting podcast. It's gonna be sick.
That's right. Producer Sunshine here, joined by my fantastic co-hosts, Krusty McCagg and 2 Cents Zappia, a.k.a. Hockey Jesus. Little inside joke to start the show. Gentlemen, how are we today?
Oh, great. I played my first round of golf this morning for the year.
That's dangerous. How'd you play?
Oh, it was fun. Played great. Played well on the 38 on the back nine. Front nine we don't need to speak about, but warmed up. Had a good back nine.
Getting the rust off.
Eagle
please tell us that we're not going to become one of those shows that talks about their golf game. Like every hockey podcast is about our golf game. To me, you can equate it to like the guy that talks about, I got 2 home runs in the softball game last night. It just, but for whatever reason, people think that everyone wants to hear about how their golf game went,
Yeah, spoken like a true non-golfer.
Spoken like someone who doesn't care about your golf game. But anyway, let's go.
Well, I care, Rocco, and I'm glad you had a good time there. Hopefully,
yeah. Audience, everyone wants to hear about his golf game. I'm sure.
I could go on. There were some good ones out there. There's some bad ones too. But
yeah, how about the third hole? What happened?
I don't remember. There were so many strokes on it. I couldn't tell you.
Hot start to the show. And guys, I think before we get into the nitty gritty, we got to give a big shout out to our sponsor, Insta Customs. Insta Customs are proud supporters of Recruits and the SIG podcast, Recruits Draftcast, the highest rated apparel print shop in Canada at 4.9 Google stars, specializing in direct to garment printing and embroidery. Located just minutes away from the Bell Center on Rue Stanley in Montreal. Please visit their website at instacustoms.com if you want to look as fresh as we do. So big thank you to them for sweet merch. All right.
Beautiful.
It's time. Let's do it. It's our second mock draft before the actual draft. And the order is going to stay a little similar. Little bit similar to last draft. Grant's still going to pick for the Habs later on. Rocco's going to pick for the Ottawa Senators. But we're going to give the honors to Mr.
Make sure you don't take us. You remember what happened last time.
Oh, I'm not announcing any picks today. I'm just going to cue you
we have
up.
No idea who's going first overall, okay?
It could be anyone. It could be anyone. Right. So Rocco, go. You're up here on the podium to make the first pick for the San Jose Sharks. Who do we got?
Got to take the Mac attack. Good Italian boy, Mackie Celebrini.
Oh,
yeah. Not much explanation required.
No. Let's just move on.
That screws up my second pick because that
not much to say. You were hoping he fell for sure.
You threw a curveball at me there.
Well, I'm
a slice curious. If we want to put it into golf terms. You threw a
That's
slice
right.
at me here.
That's right.
You got any explanation for that?
Well, I mean, it's been the consensus all year long. I think it might be the only pick in the whole draft that's really not a mystery. So we've talked about him. Great two-way center, good leadership qualities. good hockey IQ. I mean, he's going first to San Jose, so I can bet your ass on it. So let's get into the fun part, and Grant gets the first actual, really, I mean, debatable selection here. So
that's right. This is where it gets interesting.
Mikey Greer would pick somebody from BU, yeah, probably.
No,
Likely.
Seeing that he's a BU alum, it's perfect.
That's it.
It's like it couldn't be. It's etched in stone. But second overall pick, you know, I keep hearing that Chicago might go with a defenseman, but I'm going to go with who I think they should pick, not who they may pick.
Correct.
And I just don't think that they can pass on Demidov at 2. I believe that, Rocco, you had him 2 last time as well, didn't you?
I had him too, yeah.
Yeah. Well, I mean, it's just you need a dynamic duo, I think, up front. You know, the Oilers have Draisaitl and McDavid, and Chicago used to have Kane and Taves, and hey, he needs a running mate. Bedard needs a running mate, and that would just be 2/3 of a dynamic line. I gotta go with Demidov to Chicago at 2.
Now, let me ask. Oh. Yeah, sorry, Shane.
Go
Grant,
ahead, Rocco.
Just a question. No, question for Grant, because if they do go on the Demidov direction, and don't get me wrong here, I'm not saying that they shouldn't or that they won't, but if they do go in that direction, Grant, do you think you're going to hear a lot of people saying that they're building too small of a team with Bedard, Demidov, Nazar, Moore, without much size or jam to speak of?
Yeah. Well, I mean, Demidov isn't small. I know he's not 6'1" or whatever, but I never see him get knocked down. Like, he's sturdy on his skates. He's certainly a stocky kid, and I don't think he's going to be intimidated physically in any regard. And I think you can say the same thing about Bedard. He's just good luck hitting them, you know. And they're both like Kane. Was Kane ever intimidated? You know, I mean, he was fantastic in playoffs. You can't hit what you can't catch, you know. As far as the other two go, I think, you know, they're all assets, right? Like, who's to say 3 years down the road that all those guys are even with the Blackhawks? Like, you can always turn around and trade Nazar or Moore for defensemen, right? Like, there'll be teams saying, "Oh, I think that Moore kid could be our second line center. We'll give you this really good defense prospect. Who knows? Maybe Montreal. They can talk to Montreal in a couple of years or something." But, you know, there's always there can always be moves made later. Pick up the best asset. Worry about that stuff later.
Right. And for anybody who watched our sister channel, The Sick Podcast with Tony Marinaro, Grant, you were on with him, and Tony revealed some interesting information about Demidov being absent from the combine, which is happening right now. He is currently in Miami rehabbing his knee injury. So that's an interesting tidbit of information. He won't be there to participate in the physical evaluations or the interviews. There has to be some kind of way for teams to reach him anyways. So I don't know that this will make a huge difference, but worth noting anyways.
Yeah, I think it's a mistake, especially with him already being over here. It's not like they can't use that. They can use the excuse that, well, they couldn't get over. He's even here and he's not going to the combine. It's just, I don't know that that's going to help him. And, you know, it's possible that he drops a bit on draft day. I can't see teams passing on that talent.
No. And listen, there's probably more to the story, right? We're only reporting what we know, but the fact of the matter is he is not in Buffalo. He is in Miami doing rehab. Now, pick number 3, Rocco, this belongs to you, the Anaheim Ducks. Lots of big names still available. So
the Anaheim Ducks, last time we did this, I'm actually going to stick with the same player here to the Anaheim Ducks, which is Saleev out of Torpedo in the KHL, big 6'7" left defenseman. I think Anaheim, they do have a lot of depth, but I think they've shown quite a commitment lately to try to get bigger. They have Zellweger and Minchikov on the left side already, and they have Warren and Luno down the right. And I think Saleyev is gonna, just with his size and his defensive ability and his skating and his range, he's going to be a long-time NHL player. And where he slots in exactly in your lineup, I think is up for debate. But I think that you can slot him in somewhere in your lineup, and he's going to be able to contribute whatever his potential ends up topping out at. So I think he slots in very nicely for Anaheim, who does have some offensive pieces in the pipeline already with Minchikov and Zellweger. So a big shutdown guy who's going to be a mean prick to play against for a really long time. I think he would complement them nicely, and that looked like a heck of a decor moving forward for them.
Yeah, it's hard to say no to the 6'7" D man. That's for sure. Grant, anything to add on this pick?
Oh, you're not are you going with who you would pick if you were Anaheim?
No,
okay.
I'm predicting.
Yeah. Okay. No, that's cool.
Yeah. I mean, I think that's the exercise, right? We're trying to predict what the teams are doing now.
Oh, and okay. Well, I'm doing the opposite, so we'll do it that way. Let's go.
Well, either way, sure.
Well, no, I didn't. I guess we didn't really discuss which. I mean, I'm going with who I would pick if I were, and you go with that'll make it interesting actually. So
let's do that.
Might be a good pick for the Habs at 25-26.
So Grant, you're getting the next two picks here with Columbus and Montreal. Now, before we get into Columbus,
no,
I got
4.
I got 3-4. Grant has 5-6, and then we're
5 and 6.
And then we're alternating. Yeah.
So
Come
Rocco,
on, host, get it together. So go ahead, Rocco.
So for Columbus, we're going to go with Artem Levshinov out of Michigan State. 6'3" right-handed defenseman who can really skate and move the puck. I think he would fit quite nicely in Columbus's depth chart. They don't necessarily have a high-end righty coming up, whereas on the left side, at least, they do have a guy like Matejchuk, who might be a nice complement to Levshinov down the line there. So, again, there's some safety in him, and I do think historically we have seen teams opt for a little bit safer picks. There are jobs on the line. It's easier for us to sit here and say a guy has more upside, but when there's jobs on the line, you have to know that the guy's going to be able to step in and play and contribute for your team. And I think you do have that kind of safety with Levshinov there, and he would jump to the top of the right-hand defense and depth chart there in Columbus.
Mm-hmm. Yeah. And I mean, newly appointed GM Don Waddell went on to chat with Jeff Merrick a little bit, and he did mention that the priority was to clean up the defensive zone. So this makes a lot of sense.
Now there'll be some debate whether Levshinov actually helps you clean up the defensive zone or not. That's I've heard both sides of that, and I've seen both sides of that throughout the year. So we'll see. But I think it'd be a nice fit in their depth chart.
Beautiful. All right, Grant.
Is Waddell the GM?
Big one. He is the GM and president of hockey ops.
Okay,
he's got the full control right now.
I'd heard that he was president of hockey ops, but I didn't catch the GM part. So
yeah, they just gave him the keys to everything.
Yeah, wow, another decade of futility coming up in Columbus. Good. Yeah. So number 5. Geez. The Montreal Canadiens with the 5th pick from the Oshawa Generals, Beckett Seneca.
Let's do it.
I chatted with Oshawa's coach yesterday, and oh my goodness, did he have some great things to say. I'm going to publish the transcript of our conversation on recruits over the next few days. But one of the more intriguing things out of the many intriguing things he told me was that Seneca is about 6'4" now. I mean,
really?
Wow. Yeah. So he's 6'2.5", Derek, and he says he looks up to Beckett when he's talking to him. So
My God.
he figures he's at the minimum 6'3.5", and more likely 6'4", or even a little taller. So, I mean, he was 5'10" when he was picked in the OHL draft. So 6-inch growth spurt.
That's crazy.
Else. And but he had a growth spurt like in the fall of this year, a training camp. But to have those hands and that motor at 6'4", it's just such a rare specimen. And the Canadians want top six. They want production and size in their top six. They want another piece. Well, hey, I think you got a guy that can be a point per game NHLer who's 6'4", whose physical game is only going to develop as he fills out. We saw glimpses of it in the playoffs and down the stretch. And I was talking to the coach too. He said, yeah, he's got a physical element to his game that you're just going to see more and more. He also said he thinks that he'll play in the NHL at 19, that he'll be. So wow. The Canadians could use that piece. Not often the junior coach is, sending off his best player. He wants him for 2 years, right? But he thinks the trajectory is so strong with this kid that he'll be in the NHL next year. So that's pretty enticing, and it's exactly what the Canadians need. I wouldn't. I mean, he's even taller than Lindstrom. Like, one of the things was, well, Lindstrom's bigger. Well, no, he's not. So you check off, that box too that was supposedly in Lindstrom's favor. Seneca's the guy. Seneca's the guy for me for the Habs at 5.
And I mean, the combine is happening as we speak, so we're going to get official measurements and weights.
That's right.
Within the next few days, which is going to be really interesting to keep an eye out on. To get confirmation. Yeah. I mean, coming from the coach who's around him all the time, I think that's a pretty good source. Right. But to get it on paper, that's going to be
I don't know how old Derek. He's probably in his 50s now. So, I mean, we all maybe shrink a little bit in our older age, and maybe he's, maybe he's not 6'2" and a bit anymore, and he just doesn't realize it. He hasn't measured himself, but yeah, we'll get a better idea of his exact height at the combine.
That's right. Now, the image on the tool that we're using still says the Arizona Coyotes, but it is the Utah Hockey Club for now. We're going to find a name probably next year, but Utah making their first selection as a franchise. Grant, this is yours. Take it away.
Yeah. Well, you left me lots of good defensemen there, Rocco. Like the best ones in the draft. So that's good. Oh boy, I'll say Perek.
You just hurt Rocco there.
Well, I mean, it's just such a need for those guys. They need a power play quarterback, and Perek is going to be that. Yeah, there's some warts there. He's got to work on his defensive game somewhat, but sticking with Simashev, who is going to be a heck of a defensive defenseman, I think. And you got yourself quite a pairing down the road for at least a decade in Utah. Anytime you can add a defenseman that might be a point per game power play quarterback, that's a heck of a piece. And we'll say Perek. Although, I mean, Buem or Yakimchuk, take your any of those three would be great for Utah, and I wouldn't be surprised if they went with one of those two guys either. But we'll say if he's there at 6, Zane Perek, Memorial Cup champ.
Yeah, he is. All right, Rocco. I think your guy's off the board, but still lots of options for Ottawa here.
No, he's. Go ahead.
Who's what?
I
didn't think I didn't think Lindstrom would be there. Now I'm having second thoughts. I'm trying to work this out on the fly. Yeah. If that's what, not really prepared for that scenario. I didn't think he would drop, but geez. Hard to pass on him, but I think I'm going to make the same pick for Ottawa that I did last time and take Carter Yakimchuk as 6'3", maybe the best, maybe one of the best shots in the draft. Certainly, maybe the best amongst the defensemen. Hammers guys is a mean streak. I think questions about his skating are very overblown, and I think the mistakes that he makes defensively, a lot of them are a product of him being forced to do a lot on a poor team. Calgary missed the playoffs, which is tough to do in the CHL. I mean, 6 teams missed the playoffs in the West, right? So they're one of the bottom 6 teams in the WHL, and he was their second leading scorer, second in goals with 32nd in points with 71. And he was asked to do a lot, and maybe sometimes more than would be reasonable of him, and sometimes that can lead to some glaring errors sometimes. And I do think situated on a team where he doesn't have to be the guy, I think he can clean those up. And the physical tools there, the physical package is a lot to pass up on. So I'm going to take Carter Yakimchuk, right D, for the Ottawa Senators.
Beautiful.
Wow, passed on Lindstrom, eh?
Well, so did you.
Oh, I know, but not at 7. Yeah. Well, Seattle's going to pass on him too. Ooh. And they're going to take Zeev Buem. They have drafted a pile of forwards in the last few years, and there is no stud defenseman, no power play quarterback, no first pairing legitimate NHL young defenseman in that organization. Buem, I mean, he could play on their blue line next year, I think, if they selected him. The way he controlled things in the national championship game against guys that are going to be playing in the NHL next year. So draft a defenseman that's going to probably play on your team next year, starting next year. And for a long time, as much as I hate to have to pass on Lindstrom, but I got thinking, that'll leave Rocco with a fun choice for Calgary.
What are you doing?
Dilemma here.
What are you doing to me today? Oh my goodness.
So back to you, Rocco. They could use Lindstrom, huh?
Well, no kidding. And I know what. Oh goodness, I know what I want to do. Is obviously, there's a name there that would fit quite nicely in Calgary, but damn. Okay, well, Flames fans, I don't know how they would feel. I don't know how many Flames fans we get watching. Hopefully some, and I don't know how they would feel about passing on Iginla, but 9th overall, they're going to step to the podium and take Caden Lindstrom.
There we go. I think they're pretty happy with that.
Yeah, but surprised. They might do what I did, which is stutter at the screen for a minute or two and say, "Okay, yeah, this happened." So, and here's one of the fun parts about it, right? Me and Grant both have Lindstrom, I think, in our top 5, 6 for sure. And he falls in 9th in a mock draft that the two of us are doing, but you look at the names and it's like, okay, who's really a reach there? Somebody's going to fall to 9, right? Mm-hmm. Someone's going to fall, and who knows who it could be. And in this case, with this, we woke up on the Lindstrom fall side of the bed this morning, I guess.
Well, I mean, you could say, wow, Sam Dickinson's falling. Why isn't he picked yet, right?
Yeah.
I mean, the guy I'm going to pick next is not, there's 4 or 5 guys ahead of him according to this mock list, but New Jersey has a real need for a winger, a goal scoring winger. I'm taking Iginla.
Yep.
For New Jersey at 10.
Great.
I mean, you don't like to pass on Dickinson at 10. I mean, that's the guy that's fallen here, But I mean, they took Nemec 2nd overall. They took Luke Hughes 4th overall. They got Dougie Hamilton. They're loaded on defense, and and down the middle, their real need is wing, and Iginla at 10 is not a reach by any means. In fact, we both have him. Well, I have him freaking top 5 or 6. So, yeah, I think that's a perfect fit for the Devils, and they'd be quite happy to end up with Tij Iginla at 10th overall.
Certainly.
Yeah, they'd be excited. I think for sure. And the way it's shaping out, there's difference. Like, the names are in much different order than the last time we did this, but the top 11 are going to end up being the same 11 names that we had in our first go round mock draft. And Grant and I have some differences of opinion on exactly what order these guys should all be in, and of course that's going to be the case. We're not going to agree 100%, but we do agree that the same 11 names are the top 11 for both of us here. So unless there's something else you want to add there to Iginla, I think that'd be a hell of a pick for New Jersey, really.
Yeah. Well, and we know who you're taking at 11 then.
Yeah. Buffalo can prance up to the podium and have Sam Dickinson fall in their lap. And now, personally, and Grant, you brought this up earlier, right? When we were debating if we wanted to use our own personal, just go in our own personal order for these or for more prediction. Personally, I like Sam Dickinson a lot higher than 11, and I like him a lot better now than I did going into the Memorial Cup. I thought he's just so projectable with his 6'3" frame, his very, very smooth skating stride, very, very good skater. He does move the puck fine. I know he doesn't move it the same way that Perek and Buom do, and not many people are going to, but I think he moves the puck fine. And he look good on the power play. I know it's junior, but and he does have a pretty good point shot. So I think there's a lot of safety and projectability in Sam Dickinson. And maybe they get too much credit, but I don't think it can be understated. He comes from the London Knights. They're going to develop him. They're going to develop him as good or better than any non-NHL team could develop a player. So, he's in an ideal situation development-wise for the next 2 years in junior, maybe 1 year. We'll see. But you got to like players coming out of the London Knights system, and Sam Dickinson is no different. I think he'd be a hell of a pick for Buffalo at 11. They'd be lucky to get him there.
Absolutely.
Yeah. Okay.
All right. Philly.
Well, I know that ideally they don't want to add another small player. As good as Catton and Hellenius are, I'm going to have them taking Michael Hage at 12th overall.
There we go.
About 6'1", great skater, had just a terrific second half. He's one of the draft's real risers, and I think he goes anywhere from 11 to 15. And I wouldn't be surprised if that was the guy that Philly targeted. So that's, twofold. I think he'd be a good pick for them, and I think that they would be highly considering him at 12th overall. So we're going to go Hage to Philly at 12th.
Makes sense.
Yeah, it's hard not to like that pick there. Honestly, I think we had him 16 to St. Louis last time we did it, but he's been on the rise for sure. He's the more you watch him, the more you like him. That's for sure. Okay, Minnesota here. We are going to go with another guy who has been skyrocketing up everyone's lists, and I gotta take one of Grant's guys, see if I can get under his skin a little bit, make him make a couple mistakes down the second half of this mock, and take Stein Solberg, left defenseman.
Yeah, like him, dude.
Yeah, it's hard not to. You made such great cases, honestly. Like without being facetious here at all. Like we've seen some really good clips of his over the last few weeks, and he seems to be getting a lot more talk, and deservedly so. And as Grant, defensemen often go a lot higher maybe than they even should when you look back at the draft 10 years later, but they do come at a premium because good ones are hard to find. So he looks like he could be a good one, and Minnesota's happy to take him there.
Mm-hmm. And let me tell you, San Jose is licking their chops at 14, looking at the names available. So, Grant, you have the pick of the litter here.
Well, I had them taking Solberg because they needed a defenseman badly, and it would have been a great fit. But, I mean, if you can leave the draft with Celebrini and Catton,
Hard to say no.
you know, that's just, yeah, we're going to have to go Catton. I mean, leaving the, with two centermen, that Will Smith definitely goes to the wing.
Oh, yeah.
Which is where I think he belongs anyways, because he never crosses into his own zone, I don't think, more than once or twice a game. So you hand Catton the second line center spot. He's offensive minded. Celebrini's everything. He'll defensive minded and offensive minded. That's a heck of a 1-2 punch at center over the next decade. And you just go to the bank, say thank you very much. We got ourselves our top two centers for the next however long. Even though Catton might move to the wing, you let Smith and Catton fight her out there for the the loser goes and plays on the wing with Celebrini. That's not really much of a loss, is it? So
not exactly.
Berkeley Catton to San Jose at 14th overall.
Man, you made a lot of people happy there, I'm sure. Rocco, number 15, the Red Wings will be selecting.
The Red Wings will be selecting right-hand defenseman Adam Jiricek. I think Stevie Y, he's showing a proclivity towards big mobile defenseman, and I think in the middle of the first round, Jiricek, there's some strong confidence that he's going to become an NHL player, and he spent the most of the year hurt, so he was projected a lot higher than this coming into the year, and never got a chance to really show what he could do this year, because obviously he hasn't played since the World Juniors. So this looks like a Stevie Y type of player, type of pick. He's picked higher up with Seider and Edvinsson, so Jiricek fits right into that mold. And I think with taking centers the last couple of years with Danielson and Kasper, Hellenius obviously is the name still on the board here, but that's why I'm passing on him, because he did take centers with his first rounders the last 2 years, and I think Jiricek would fit in there well in the style of player that he likes.
Mm-hmm. Great pick, Grant. You're up.
Well, I mean, Hellenius has to go to St. Louis. It's just, I mean, he might go top 7, so he's a year away at the most of playing in the NHL. He looked great at the World Championships. He played 2 or 3 shifts in the overtime against Sweden in the quarterfinals, 3-on-3. I mean, that's impressive, good prospect, high floor. I can see him in St. Louis down the road being one of their top 2 centers. So I think they'd be ecstatic if Hellenius was there and he fits their style of player too. He's pretty good, well-rounded, all-around, two-way centerman, 16. That's a no-brainer for me. Hellenius to St. Louis.
Great pick. Washington Capitals.
Washington Capitals. Well, if there's one guy on the planet that could channel someone's ability to be a one-shot goal scorer,
Ovi.
It might be Alexander Ovechkin. So, despite telling myself I was going to force Grant to pick this guy no matter how low he dropped, it would just be too poetic. And maybe Yzerman will prove me wrong, because I've been hard on him, probably harder on him than I need to be this year. for a draft eligible player. So we're gonna stop the bleeding. I'm gonna take my foot off the gas in terms of kind of being hard on him and send him to Washington Capitals, 17th overall, and let Ovi show him how to stand still and score.
There we go.
not that Ovechkin just
the successor.
Wow.
Not that Ovechkin just did that by any means. I'm not saying that, but he can do that when called upon. So
yeah.
Well, I had him going to Washington at 17 last time too, right?
Yeah.
So
pretty
there
consistent.
You go.
Now, for those of you watching right now, you may notice there is a mistake with the tool that we are using. The New York Islanders still have the pick number 18, but it is the Chicago Blackhawks who made a trade to move up. So pick number 18 belongs to Chicago. Grant, you make the call.
Now it's getting interesting.
Yep.
So at 2, we had them taking Demidov. I don't particularly like any defenseman that high. Jet Luchenko. Oh, they didn't like him too much, eh?
Rank 35.
Yeah.
That's going to change.
He's I didn't realize I still had him on the board. Can I change my pick?
Unfortunately, no.
Okay. I didn't realize Surin was still there. Okay. Well, it's too late. Jet. I mean, that's around where he's going, I think. He's going somewhere 15 to 20, right? Doesn't necessarily add size. There'll be yet another undersized, but he's got top 6 ability all day. Just keep adding the assets. I think he can be a top 3 center for sure. You get that with the 18th pick. That's good value. And Luchenko, I think Moore ends up on the wing. And you can have Luchenko and Nazar fighting it out for the number two center spot. That's not maybe the ideal pick for Chicago, but it's, again, you're collecting assets. Down the road, they probably end up trading one of these picks, and it wouldn't be the first team to do it. And you get the best player available and worry about figuring out lineup spots later down the road.
That's right.
Jet Luchenko's a great pick at 18. So Chicago, Jet Luchenko.
Fantastic. All right, Vegas.
I am going to take someone here in Vegas who would fit very well into the big rough and tumble Western Conference. I think he's a player with a ton of upside and raw skill, and going into a winning environment and getting to learn under some pretty great leadership with Stone and Pietrangelo there. I think Liam Greentree would be a nice fit in the top 6 for Vegas down the line. Could add some size and skill to their wing. Not that they're short on that, but if you can get a player with that kind of ability at 19 overall, I think you're generally pretty happy about it. And there are some consistency things there that he needs to work on. But I think Vegas is the right, it's one of the premier franchises in the NHL. So if someone can get the best out of someone, that's one of the spots where it can happen. So Liam Greentree to Vegas at 19.
Yeah, fantastic. Now, as previously mentioned, we're gonna have to swap Chicago and the Islanders. So it's actually the Islanders picking here at 20 and not the Blackhawks.
Yeah. We'll go with Mikey Shinpad. Yeah, Branseg Nygaard. He'd be a nice fit for the Islanders. I think that's a Lou Lamoriello type kid, hard worker, works hard, sniper. They could use another goal scorer who's got a great shot. He's He's versatile. He can play center. He can play wing. Good addition to your top 9. Brandseg Nygaard to the Islanders at 20.
All right. We're moving along. This is great. The LA Kings.
I don't know if this is the town for this kid to go play in. Trevor Connolly to Los Angeles. Let's see the fireworks go. One of the most talented players in the draft, plain and simple. Honestly, offensively, he's got about as good of a ceiling as just about anyone in the class. The issues with him are known, so we're not going to go over that again. But at 21, once you get outside the top 20, the talent is just probably too good to pass up. You know, you're not typically drafting. You're not expecting an impact player in the 20s, and you know, guys drafted in the 20s. They don't always even make the league. So I think the risk reward at this point of the draft is too great to pass up. There's not a ton of sure thing names left on this list. So I think there's a point in the draft where you take a swing on a guy and you hope for the best. And because if this kid figures it out and gets straightened out a little bit, I mean, he does have some incredible hockey ability. So.
Yep.
Mm-hmm.
Beautiful. Nashville.
Well, sir, in Nashville, that's just a no-brainer for me. He's their type of Barry Trotz. Will love this kid. Maybe the most competitive player in the draft class, but also tons of skill. He's probably, I wouldn't be surprised if he ends up going top 15 even in this draft class. You know what did they have him at? They have him pretty 52. Low, right? And they've got Kiva Haru at like 22. Like that's anyway. Okay, maybe flip that, and you're a little closer to what reality is. But that's fine. Everyone's got different lists. That's what makes it fun, right?
I think these rankings are fairly old. I don't think they've been updated.
Yeah, that's true. They haven't been updated too much, but. Yeah, Surin, if he's, you know, I had him going a little earlier if I didn't notice, but I didn't see him on that list there. But yeah, that to me is a perfect fit in a lot of ways, and he can get mentored a little bit by Ryan O'Reilly because that's the type of player he is. So yeah. That's a nice pick for Nashville at 22.
Absolutely. Rocco, you get the rivals here. Toronto Maple Leafs, 23.
Toronto. I don't like Toronto, and that's fine. I'm open about it. I'm biased against them. For this pick, I think Toronto this year has shown they've shown a clear effort to try and get a little bit bigger, a little bit tougher, a little more playoff ready. At the same time, they haven't had a ton of their own prospects coming up through the system. So I think it'd be beneficial for them to get someone who can step in and at least play in your top 9 within a couple of years. If they want to make something work with the core that they have now, they need to get as many helpful, ready bodies into the lineup as they can. And they're going to, because of the way that their cap structure is set out, they need to get good young players on cheap deals in order to have any sort of depth. So Cole Beaudoin, I think, makes a ton of sense for Toronto. He plays a very versatile, very good two-way game. He plays with smart details. He's very responsible. I think he can step in a lineup within a couple of years because he does have a lot of maturity to his game already, and he'll be a versatile player that can slide up and down. And they're not looking for another offensive superstar here. They need someone who can come in and support the big boys. And I think Cole Beaudoin is going to be really good at that role in the NHL.
Absolutely, I'm a big fan of his. That's a great pick there. Hey, we stay unbiased here. We stay unbiased as much as you know. We may feel against the team.
He had them going to Toronto is because he knows that I would have loved him at 26, but he'd have taken him for Ottawa at 25 anyway if he was there. So
yeah.
That's cool.
That was my debate.
We are fair.
I wanted to leave him for Ottawa, but I'll play this one honestly because that would have been
exactly. I said, geez, he's actually. I personally would have given him Ellick because I think that's what they need more than anything, either Ellick or Emery. But Beaudoin would have been my second my second choice.
And those were the other two guys I was looking at. But the only reason I went Beaudoin is because the simmering time that the defenseman will need versus the forward might be a little longer, and they're trying to make it work with these overpaid guys that they have now. So.
Yeah. Well, they do have quite a few good forward pieces, and they really don't have any defense pieces going forward.
Well, good. Let's keep it that way.
Yeah, exactly. So I don't have a problem with them passing on Alec because they passed on Gooley. They passed on. Just keep doing her, boys.
Yeah, that's it.
Keep not getting that stud shut down defenseman and then losing in the first round of the playoffs. Works. Okay.
Yeah, that's what happens. All right, pick number 24 is actually Colorado. Anaheim. The Anaheim pick is Edmonton, so it's going to move to the end. Colorado is up at 24.
Well, we're getting down to the nitty-gritty here. I would say that Colorado could use a defensive defenseman, and they'll take Alec at 24. Yep. Johnson and Madsen are getting a little long in the tooth, and they're eventually going to need to be replaced. I would say that Alec would be a fine addition to the Avalanche. They've got Makar, they picked Gulyayev, they have Girard. They could use complementary to those guys, right? Big guy, defenseman, physical. He'd be a good fit for the Avalanche, and we'll have them taking him at 24.
Wonderful. All right, so again, the order moved. It's Ottawa here at pick 25. Rocco, you got this.
I've got three guys here that I really like for Ottawa, and I won't spoil them. We can maybe chat about it after when we finish it, because I'm sure they'll get picked in the next few here. But I'm going to take another right defenseman. I'm going to take Dominic Badinka, and whatever. I mean, I'll just say it. I was looking hard at Emery and Merrick Van Acker. I think as anyone who watches this program regularly knows, I'm a big fan of those two players in particular, and I really didn't anticipate Badinka being here, but that's the nature of the draft, right? It only takes one team to like a certain guy more, and a guy that you had ranked a little bit higher suddenly drops down the list. And I think Ottawa fans and management would be very happy if they came out of this with 2 6'2", 6'3" right-hand defensemen who can both skate, who can both move the puck, and bring some very projectable elements to their game. That would shore up the right side. And Ottawa really only has Zub on the right side, even down their pipeline too. So they really do need help there. And I think if they can get these two guys there, that plugs into two future NHL pieces, and that's two less things to worry about. And on what people mostly say is the hardest position to fill in hockey, which is a quality right-handed defenseman. So Dominic Badinka to the Ottawa Senators.
Fantastic.
Bada bing, bada boom.
Yeah.
Badinka being awesome.
Yeah. The Italian picks the bading, badoom, badoom. Okay. Badinka. That makes sense.
Pick number 26, a pick that a lot of people think is going to get traded, but belongs to the Montreal Canadiens for now.
Oh,
they're going to be picking. So.
Oh, okay. I wasn't sure who had that pick. Aaron Kiva. No.
Oh boy.
I spit my coffee on the screen.
Yeah. You know what? I really like if that's the way the draft goes and it's their pick right now. They're trading the pick, I think, because there's no one there. Like the Canadians are pretty stocked going forward. Where I don't see anyone there that
you want to make a trade.
That honestly appeals to me that much.
You want to make a trade?
Well, we could.
I'll give you a pick 39 and a future second rounder for this one.
Well, if we were going up to pick 40 or something, sure. But
it's just hot. But I mean, at this point, maybe we're not picking all those guys. Now, if you want to go right to 40 so you can pick it, that's fine. But that might present the Habs with good value. Is all I'm really saying.
Well, at this point, he goes up to the mic and says Montreal trades Jaden Struble and pick 26 for Patrick Laine, and the crowd goes wild. But yeah, something like that is what I expect to happen. Probably not Laine, but
odds
I
are,
really would be surprised if they keep that pick.
You think they go big? You think they go big game hunting like that?
Yeah, I do.
Mm-hmm.
I think that they will. But gun to my head, Merrick Vanacker. Because Rocco wanted him at 39 or whatever.
That's who I would have taken for Ottawa if you agreed to my trade, which I think is great.
Well, value. I mean, I've got him 26th or whatever. Yeah. So, that's right around where he's ranked, and he's like Montreal's looking for hardworking guys in the third, fourth lines, and he would that also has some scoring ability, right? Yeah. I think he can be a good two-way player that could fit the mold of what the Canadians are looking for in on their third lines. And at this point, that's what they'd be getting, would be somebody that would be a future third liner on the team at best. So Vanacker would be a good fit if they keep the pick and they decide to. But honestly, I'm not that excited. I hope they trade that pick for help now in the top six.
Mm-hmm. In all likelihood, the pick will be traded. I think, it's hard to give odds, but if you were a betting man, I think you could put a few dollars on it. But hey, if it pans out that there's no willing trade partner or no offers worthy, I think you make a pick at 26 and you're pretty happy there with Vanacker. All right, pick 27 belongs to the Carolina Hurricanes. Rocco, this is yours.
Pick 27 to Carolina. Yeah, I mean, they've had success. They've had a lot of success drafting skilled players out of the European league. So, give them Igor Chernyshov, and they'll dip into that pool again. When something's not broke, don't fix it. And whoever the European scouts are, they found them a lot of quality players, homegrown players over the draft. So let's keep putting the faith in their Euro scouts' hands and dip into that pool again.
It says Montreal pick 27.
Yeah, I mean these are wrong.
Yeah. Okay.
But for 27 it was Carolina. 29 is Calgary.
28 Calgary.
28.
28.
Yeah.
Sorry, 28 is
Calgary. Yeah. Okay. Iginla's not there, right? Yeah.
Well, come on.
EJ Emery.
Yes.
They need a defenseman. They need a shutdown, big physical blue liner. He's the best one I've got on the board left. Good fit. That's that would be a nice spot for Emery, Calgary at 28.
Fantastic. All right. We got
I take it when you said come on, that's who you were thinking.
Oh, of course. Absolutely.
Yeah. Mr. No goal, 0 goals this year.
Bah.
Well, you're not drafting him to score goals, I don't think.
No, but his a lot of guys think that he's not going till the second round now just because his puck game is not that good. And you have to have a puck game at the NHL level now. You got to be able to move the puck no matter how good you are defensively, one-on-one without the puck. Because every now and then you got it on your stick, right? So I don't think it's a given that he's going in the first round now. But, you like his game away from the puck and a shutdown kind of guy. Calgary could use it. He'd be a good fit, I think, for them at 28.
Yeah. Wonderful. All right. It's the Dallas Stars at 29.
At 29, the Dallas Stars. Now, I think there's two ways you could go here. I mean, you could take the mindset they're a successful team already, and maybe getting a safer depth piece is the play, but that's not the Dallas Stars way, or at least it hasn't been drafting, and they've had a lot of success at the draft floor. They're taking guys that they think can be impact players, and it seems like more often than not, they've been right about that the last few years. So
Henry Mew,
Parasak, who was 105 points this year as a rookie with Prince George Cougars, has a ton of hockey sense, and he's not the greatest skater, and he's a little bit on the smaller side, but Dallas, it seems like a team that likes guys that have hockey sense, and by all accounts, that's Parasak's bread and butter. So Dallas Scouts do it again. Take another high-end offensive piece late in the first.
Mm-hmm.
I could see them taking Parasak for sure.
Yeah.
That's a good pick for them. Rangers?
Yeah, the New York Rangers at pick 30.
Ryder Ritchie.
Mm-hmm.
He had a good World Junior, under 18.
U18s, yeah.
Ton of skill. I mean, we had him. I think a lot of guys had him top 20 going into the year, and he had a growth spurt, and I think it affected his skating a bit. But that comes. There's a lot of skill. He's one of the top, 20 most skilled guys in this draft class.
Mm-hmm.
I liked him at the U18s, and if he's still on the board at 30, that's good value. So I think Richie'd be a nice ad for the Rangers at 30.
Absolutely. Now, these last two picks have yet to be determined. It's between Anaheim and Philly. Anaheim owns Edmonton's pick, and Philly owns Florida's pick. So depending on the Stanley Cup winner, one will pick 31st, one will pick 32nd. So why don't we
Ted's going to pick
our predictions? Who do we think is going to win the cup?
Ted? Who's going to win? He doesn't know. Okay. Well, Rocco?
Well,
you're picking 31, so who's it going to be? Is it going to be Philly or is it going to be Anaheim?
Well, I think that this year's Stanley Cup winner is going to be the Florida Panthers.
Boo.
They're carrying over a lot of heartbreak from last year, and they bullied everyone to the finals for the second year in a row. And this is the last run for that Florida team. They're going to lose some guys this offseason, and McDavid and the Oilers have felt heartbreak, but they haven't felt Stanley Cup final heartbreak. And I think losing this one this year is going to propel them to multiple cups in the future in the city of Edmonton with 97 and 29. But this year, the Stanley Cup's going back to South Florida, and Sam Bennett is just going to have a summer.
Oh,
yeah. He's the man.
So that means Anaheim will be picking 31st. Who do we have them taking?
We've got Anaheim taking Emil Hemming, who I think is a very, very projectable NHL winger. He's got good size, he's got good work ethic, good two-way play. Maybe doesn't have the most upside offensively, but I think there's a decent bet that you'll see him in an NHL lineup. And at pick 31, that's about what you can hope for.
Mm-hmm. Fantastic. So, Grant, you have the honors of closing us out with the Philadelphia Flyers 32nd pick.
Yeah, you're going to have to scroll down.
Uh-oh.
I am going to take Jesse Pulkkinen, 6'6", 6'6" defenseman. Philly's looking for some size. They could use a goal-scoring defenseman with size. He's the wild card of the first round. I think that he goes somewhere in the 30s and probably early 30s as opposed to late 30s.
Mm-hmm.
And I think that he would be just a great fit for the Flyers at 32. So my pick to end her off is he'd be the first guy since Tanner Pearson, overager that previously undrafted to go in the first round.
What about Brett Leeson?
What's that?
Wasn't Leeson?
He wasn't a first rounder, I don't think. Maybe.
Oh,
to
no.
Washington?
Yeah,
Brent
no, never
Leeson?
mind. No,
Okay.
never mind.
He wasn't a first, was he?
No, second.
Yeah, okay. Yeah. So the last one was Tanner Pearson. So it's been a while. Yeah. Pulkkinen stepped into the World Juniors and was a difference maker. He's a real wild card for this draft, and I wouldn't be surprised if he's a Philly type pick, I think, and they could use more size. So Pulkkinen to the Flyers at 32.
And that wraps up our mock draft.
Braden Tracy was who I was thinking of, Braden Tracy was who I was thinking of, but I don't even know if he was an overager that year. I might just be out of it.
I think I researched this. Rocco and Tanner Pearson's the last guy. So last overager. LA Kings. Yeah.
That was a fun one. And let us know in the comments who you want your team to pick. Okay, whoever you're a fan of, let us know which players you're eyeing. We'd love to know. Any comments, keep them respectful. I think we have a great little following here of really smart people who do their research. So we're looking forward to hearing from you for sure.
Except me guys, about overage prospects.
Oh. That's it. You're going off the top of your head. I mean,
yeah, we need.
But
to prep for that.
Well, I mean, that just goes to show that there's going to be a player at 10, or there'll be somebody at 8, and they'll say, "Holy geez, I can't believe that he's there."
That's it.
Regardless of who it is, right? Because there really are 11, 12 guys that could be top 7 picks in this draft. So there'll be somebody dropping. I mean, if Lindstrom goes to 9 and they've got a choice between Iginla and Lindstrom. I mean, I've got both those guys in the top 5. So as far as I'm concerned, they'd be dropping, but that's it's going to be a heck of a draft and lots of drama. Mm-hmm. And hopefully there'll be a couple of trades too.
Yes. And speaking of, Tom Fitzgerald, GM for the New Jersey Devils, has flat out said that he is open to trading pick number 10. So that's going to be a lot of intrigue there. The belief is that he's looking for a high profile goaltender, which makes sense. But will a team pay up? It remains to be seen. Nothing's done yet. We could see a lot of action there in Vegas.
Yeah, no, I hope so. I know I expect Montreal to make a trade, and they're 10th overall. That typically there aren't too many picks in the top 10 to get swapped. But hey, if the right deal comes along, it'd be nice to see a couple of teams move in the top 10.
Most certainly. All right, is that it? Everybody satisfied?
Oh, and Yellow's satisfied. It's over an hour, so you better wrap up.
I'm gonna get in trouble here. So, that'll do it for us this week. Now the draft is only 23 days away. Okay, and if you watched Tony's show yesterday, you might have noticed him saying that he will be at the draft in Vegas. And yes, the sick team will be at the draft, including myself.
Yeah,
I'll be making the trip to Vegas. I am very excited for that. And so you certainly don't want to miss the content that I will be bringing you. I'll try my best to find as much players as I can and do little interviews with them if I can. So if you haven't already, we strongly encourage you to subscribe. Turn on the notification bell to get an alert whenever we upload any new content. This is it. You know what's happening. So we're gonna keep pumping out some good stuff on this channel. Also, you don't want to forget to go check out recruits.ca to get access to the Recruits 2024 Draft Guide. All you have to do is click on the 2024 Draft Guide to subscribe. Now, because Grant is such a nice guy, There is currently a $5 discount. So for $14.99, you can know all there is to know about this exciting draft class. All right.
Yeah.
For
I'm not all crust. There's a little bit of sugar on that crust.
Yeah. Yes, there is.
Depends on the day.
The minute.
Awesome. Well, for Krusty McCagg and 2 Cents Zappia, I'm producer Sunshine, and this has been another edition of the Sick Podcast Recruits Draftcast. Until next time, take care, everyone.
And that's a wrap. Hope you don't miss us too much until next time. Follow the Sick Podcast Recruits Draftcast on YouTube, Facebook, Google Play, and Apple Podcasts.